So obviously you guys show us so much love, and we're going to be reacting to some of the best comments that we've been picking out over the course of the day. So let's
love's one way of putting it, but first one is from Roger Payne 5336. Says, wow, it's official then. Sim loves Ange more than the club. Damn, all those terrible stats under Ange, and yet the guy flies to Ange's defence on if we win Europa, it's despite Ange, not because of him, which is 100%, by the way. Oh well, there we have it. Cultist number one. P.S. We need way more. P.S. We need way more paying fans staying away from the fancy stadium, as Levy just wants your cash. He wants Spurs to have a shocker season and yet sits on his arse doing jack about it. In terms of, look, all my only point was, if you're going to list off all these stats and say that's all of that is purely down to Ange, and if we win Europa League, he doesn't get any credit, I just think that's wrong. I just think if you're going to say either it's all on Ange or there's partly to blame for everything, is my point. If you're going to say all those stats, that's all down to Ange, and yet if we win Europa League, he has no credit for that, I don't agree with that at all. Either you say it's all on him and he gets credit for the Europa League, or you portion the blame for everything and say you can say he's partly to blame for these and he also partly doesn't get any credit for the Europa League.
Yeah, look, as much as I would like to sit here and disagree, I think that's completely fair. I think everything should, under his tenureship, he should be accounted for, and that's including the good stuff and the bad stuff. You know, you can't just criticize when you want and then just not give him credit when it's going to be duly deserved. And if we go and win a European trophy, or any trophy for that matter, he needs to be, you need to give him the praise that he deserves.
Exactly. I just don't like that narrative, and I can see already forming from a few fans, and I just don't agree with it whatsoever. Mythan V says Romero can't discuss his future plans right before a big Europa game, but you guys can discuss Ange sacking potential replacements before the same. Funny, this world we live in.
First of all, we're not vice captains of this football club. Second of all, we're fans, so we're open to discuss any sort of situation. And yeah, like if you're a vice captain of a club, you can't be talking about where you're going to be playing or where you want to be playing in the future. You need to be focusing on the job in hand and the task in hand, and that is captaining your side, showing your leadership ability to a trophy.
Should we as fans be focusing on the task in hand, getting to a Europa League semi?
Us as fans, we're not the ones on the pitch, and once the game comes, you know what I mean, we're going to be fully focused. And even in the games that don't really matter in the league, we're fully focused on, hopefully seeing Spurs win. But Romero doesn't seem to be fully focused every game.
He does in Europa, though.
In the Europa, yeah, which is fair enough. But you can't, in between that, talking about where you're going to be going next and I want to play in Spain. Like, leave that till the end of the season.
Daniel Hewson 8866 says if he stays or goes is all the same to me, but he's talking about Romero. But I speak Spanish and he didn't say he wants to leave. Yes, he's open to it and he did say he'd like to play in Spain, but that doesn't necessarily mean now, although his references to there being a couple months until the end of the season are telling. That said, don't doubt his commitment. He really wants to win this trophy and did say he's happy for now.
For now. The key point being there. Yeah, I mean, what can I say to that? I just feel
he said he didn't say he wants to leave.
Yeah. Well, we know he didn't say he didn't say that.
Well, you were acting like he did.
Did I act like he did?
You're talking about, he can't be talking about his future and all this, but he didn't say he wants to leave.
About his future.
But he didn't say he wants to leave.
I know. We both said that at the time. He didn't say he wants to leave.
But we're not acting like he's basically saying he wants to go to Spain.
We know the connotations he's making. We know exactly what he's doing. He's saying things without actually saying things. You know what I mean? Like, he's organised an interview where he knows the kind of questions that is going to be asked, and he knows exactly what he's doing. We've been through this.
All right.
Do you not agree?
I don't have a very strong opinion on it, to be honest. From what I've seen,
but you have a opinion on it.
Yeah, I think preferably he shouldn't be doing an interview at this point in the season. And also look, I don't like it, put it that way. I don't think it's a massive deal, but I don't like it. I don't think it's going to derail anything or changes anything. but I would prefer he didn't do it.
Yeah,
Essentially,
it's just not what you want to see from your vice captain, is it?
No, definitely. Of course not. Just like I didn't like it when Kane did it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it then, but Kane ended up staying that summer. But like, I don't think
It was a disgrace when Kane did it as well.
Yeah, but it's not like I think Romero's going to phone it in these Europa games because that's happened or anything. I'm pretty sure he's still going to be, he's going to care as much.
Seems like he's phoned it in the Premier League games.
He's not the only one though, let's be honest.
Yeah, but he is vice captain.
Yeah, I know, but it doesn't mean it's more unacceptable for him. It's unacceptable for everyone.
100% is unacceptable for everyone. I don't disagree, but he's the one that's supposed to be showing the leadership ability and showing the others what to do and how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I doubt he's making these mistakes on purpose. He's just, at the moment, there's a collective, like, not saying giving up, but definitely we've switched off in the Premier League because we're concentrating on the Europa League games. Food off Soul says, if we win Europa, why would he choose to leave? Doesn't make any sense. I think he's talking about Ange here. Spurs need to win a trophy, blah blah blah. Then if he does, he leaves. Too many want the merry-go-round and supposed quick fix. Ben, don't compare League Cup to win to Europa. They give the same reward as a Europa Conference League and Europa Conference League qualification. Sky Sports showed some numbers before the Forest game. Still third highest scorers, a lot of positive other stats showing Spurs progress. Too many looking at Ange's first 10 games and thinking everything was fixed. Spurs going to win the league, etc. And forget the rebuild needed throughout the squad. Short memories. Let's remember Forest finished 17th last season. They've no European football along with Newcastle and have allowed their manager to build something. Maybe Spurs could learn something.
Maybe they could, but Nottingham Forest were a team that are kind of used to finishing in that position. They were very recently in the Championship. Spurs, when's the last time we finished this low in the league?
Not a long time. Yeah, a long time ago.
Very long time ago, you know. No matter the circumstances, Spurs should be nowhere near where we're at in the league. And if Nottingham Forest were to finish like in the bottom half, no one will really bat an eyelid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a disgrace where Spurs are at in the league. So
no, I think he's talking. He's not talking about that. He's not talking about last season Forest. It was okay for Forest to finish 17th, so it's okay for us. I think he's saying Forest finished 17th, and look how it quickly changed. I think is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And it can, maybe the point is it can quickly change.
Yeah, look, it could do, but like I said, like, it can quickly change, but like, it's an expectancy. It was an expectancy for Forest to finish in that kind of situation. So like, the manager can be given time after that. It's not an expectancy for Spurs to finish here. So it's a disgrace and a sackable offence. It wasn't a sackable offence for Forest to finish there. It was actually an achievement to stay in the league.
I understand that. No, that's a fair point. But then if he backs up with Europa League win, then maybe there's more justification to keep him on, and maybe it could still swing very quickly from that 17th position.
We're all desperate for that Europa League win, and it'll be massive, absolutely massive. And if we are to win the Europa League, then I agree with, I can't remember if it was a caller or a comment that said it will be on Ange to make that decision whether he wants to stay or go. And I'll be happy with that, you know. If Ange says he wants to leave at the end of the season, then yeah, fine, cool. If he wants to stay, then fine. But we all know that if he stays, a dodgy patch at the beginning stage of the season, he'll probably be gone.
LC70 says, don't care who they are. If any Spurs player does not want to be there, then they can go. P.S. Can we not refer to Romero as Cootie like he's a long-serving give-it-all Spurs warrior? He's just another uncaring mercenary who's mostly a liability. What did we pay for him? 45 million or so? As long as we don't make a loss, then he can foxtrot Oscar.
Cootie's just his name, mate. That's just his name.
Well, he's not. Stop referring to him as Cootie like he's some long-serving give-it-all warrior. He ain't that, mate.
Yeah, look, I think Cootie is an unbelievable player on his day, and he can be, and he will be for his next club. But I do think, like, on the whole of things, with the quality that he has and how good he can be, you got to say that it has been a bit of a disappointment.
Yeah, I guess. Considering he came here as Serie A Defender of the Year, and every year season, it just seems as though we're waiting for the best of him. I think, what was it? I think last season he was fairly consistent. Did he get our player of the year last year? Or was that Van der Ven?
Van der Ven got it, yeah.
But I think he was fairly consistent when he was playing.
Yeah,
Romero. That was probably his best season.
Yeah.
Other than that, like the second season under Conte wasn't great. First season started off pretty dodgy, and then once Conte came in, he was pretty good for 6 months. And then last season pretty consistent. This season pretty inconsistent. So it just feels like we still haven't seen like that season where everyone could like confidently sit here and say he's easily one of the, like, he hasn't had a season where a rival fan can come at you and say, oh, he's rash and a liability, and you can really combat that with what you've seen for Tottenham. That's the truth. You can see it on your day, and obviously we've seen for Argentina, but he just hasn't consistently been that amazing defender.
For the quality that he has, he should be consistently performing as one of the best defenders, centre-backs in the Premier League, and he's just not done that consistently.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is reality. So as much as he's a great, you can see what a great defender he is on his day. Like, with 100%, like, we definitely sit here saying he hasn't maybe fulfilled his full potential of what he should be doing.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why we're most likely going to make a decent profit on him. It's because everyone can see what a good defender he is.
Yep, it's mainly because of what he's done on the international stage as opposed to what he's done for Tottenham.
Yeah. Nathan Newman 799 says, dry your tears, Sim. He's already packing.
Dry your tears, mate.
I'm still holding out hope. This Europa League is coming, and then everyone's going to be crying with happiness, crying with joy. And those tears are going to be tears of joy, not sadness, when we win that Europa League. Clear Wage says, I see what you guys are saying about Ange, but I don't see him walking away from leading a team in the Champions and Premier League if we win Europa. Well, he's obviously flustered and performance haven't been anywhere near good enough. I rate he backs himself to turn it around regardless of what everyone else thinks. Also, would players turn their back on him if we win Europa? Would Enoch want to start their search and be humiliated? There are many avenues through which Ange stays.
Yeah, it's true. I think it's a valid point, to be honest. And I think on Ange, I do think he's a guy that's consistently said, like, I'm not a quitter, I'm not this, I'm not that. So
stubborn enough to stay on, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? I have said in the past and recently that I think he could walk if we win the Europa League, but I think he makes a valid point, and maybe he wouldn't walk. I think he'd probably back his ability to stay on and keep building on that success.
I think a lot of that talk about him walking just comes mainly from his body language in press conferences. He just seems like a beaten man a lot of the time, and obviously he responded when he was asked, "Are you going to be here next season?" He says, "Oh, I don't know," and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, then also there have been some reports about potential mutual termination if come the end of the season. But if we actually win that Europa League, like, I'm just trying to think about, like, we're lifting that trophy the day after we're talking about him walking away. I just can't envisage him being like, I've won this trophy and now I'm going to walk. Like, I think he's bullish enough to try and build on it, kind of thing. And maybe he'll probably say to the club, look, I've won this trophy. If you want me to go, you're going to have to sack me, kind of thing.
However, you know, Ange throughout his career has kind of just only stayed small times.
That is also true.
He's come in, he's done his job, and he's left.
Mm-hmm.
Would he see coming in, winning the Europa League as doing the job?
But he's usually left when there's been another job on the table. Don't think I can't think of him.
We have
leaving.
heard that Ange does have interest this summer.
Yeah, better job usually though. That's what I'm saying. Is a better job than Tottenham going to be on the table?
Yeah, probably not.
So that's the only side. I think it's maybe a bit different. Jason Lomankin 6722 says, if Spurs sell Porro and replace him with Aina, then that would be a step too far for me. I'll just start supporting my local non-league team and save myself a few bob. And the stress of supporting Spurs, love or hate Porro, he's statistically in the top 3 best right backs in the Premier League.
Yeah, from an attacking perspective, for sure, he's in the top 3 best right backs in the league. And I do think if we were to swap Porro for Aina, that would be a massive step down. It would. There's just no two ways about it. I agree with that.
Albeit Aina's had a brilliant season.
Yeah, he has.
He's a good fullback.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's had a great season, but one season doesn't make you one of the best right backs in the Premier League.
And Mr. Crab, SK Chow 337 says selling Porro would be a disgrace. He's a player that can be the best in his position that would build you build title-winning teams around. Aina is an okay fullback.
Yeah, I do think Porro can be in a title-winning team, and I think if Man City were to buy Porro, you would see a much better Pedro Porro. Everyone would sit up and take notice. Like when I always gonna take it back to Kyle Walker. Like when Kyle Walker was at Spurs, people kind of thought of him as a very good right back in the Premier League. But then when he went to Man City, everyone says he's probably the best right back of Premier League history.
Absolutely.
If Walker would have stayed at Spurs for all this time, no one would be looking back at Walker being like he's the best Premier League right back of all time.
Not of all time. I think they would be saying he's one of the best in the league. For sure.
Yeah, I'm saying they thought that at his time at Tottenham, but now he's been at Man City.
Yeah, because he's won all the titles.
Best of all time.
Yeah, because he's got all the titles behind him. Wig FYHFG says Solomon is better than Tell.
Ooh.
Solomon is better than Tell. Interesting. Well, Solomon is in great form and got a lot of goals, but they are in the Championship.
Yeah, I think if Tell was in the Championship, I think he'd be smashing it out as well.
Yeah, it's hypothetical, but I also think, yeah, I agree. I think it's hard to see him not scoring lots of goals in the Championship with his kind of quality. But is he currently better? With Tell being 19, Solomon's that bit older. I think Tell maybe has a higher ceiling. Is there a case to say Solomon right now is a better player?
I think there is a case for it. I don't see why not. Like Solomon, Tell has never had a run of form that Solomon's having right now in his career.
Albeit it's in the Championship.
Yeah, but I mean, Solomon has got more goal contributions this season, albeit in the Championship, than Tell has in his whole career.
Is that right?
Yeah, for sure.
How many? He's got what? 15 goal contributions?
I think he's got more than that. I'll tell you right now.
I'm telling you.
Manuel Solomon in the Championship has got 12 assists and 9 goals.
That's 21. So you're saying that's more goal contributions than Tell has in his career?
Yeah. Tell has got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
He's got 20,
17.
20 goal contributions.
Well, there you go.
No, fair enough. Fair enough. That's a quite an interesting stat. But Tell, yeah. So I guess there's a case for it. But would you?
I do want to see Solomon come back for pre-season and seeing if there's anything we can do for him, because I do think he's got some good attributes.
That's fair, but if we're talking about you don't want to the one reason maybe you wouldn't want to sign Tell is because you want somebody who's just ready now to replace Son. Do we think Solomon could be that guy?
Not to replace Son, probably not. No, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. But if Solomon can replicate this Championship form in the Premier League, then
yeah, that'd be great.
It would be great, but it's a massive question.
Gypsy Catcher 79 says, "I know we are low in the table, but we need to shift the mindset of I'll take him for this or that amount of money. It's slightly negative from the get-go. Sooner back Donnelly or more. Tell so far hasn't done enough. Would love Dibbling. We shouldn't sleep on that if it can be done."
Yeah, it's true, and I think we're all guilty of it, to be honest. Like spending the money like it's our own money. You know what I mean? It's a bit ridiculous. Like I've always said, that you only want to sign them if they're good enough. Like it doesn't really matter about the money. You know
I agree with that.
So I mean, to say we'll sign Tell for 20 million but not 50 million. It just probably means that he's probably not good enough.
Maybe, but I agree. I do kind of agree with that. Actually, it kind of if you're saying that, it definitely kind of implies you don't think he's worth 50, which probably means you don't think he's good enough. So, but in my opinion, if it was 50 or nothing, I think I'd probably still do it. I think I really like him. I think he's got such a high ceiling, and I feel like we will probably regret not getting him if we did. We'll probably look back at it like we have on some other wingers who we missed out on because we didn't want to pay the money. But I've also said that I would want to renegotiate that fee, which I do think is possible. But if I'm saying I wouldn't want him at 50, then it makes a point that he said. Then you're kind of saying, do you really believe he's good enough? If you're saying that, I guess that's a fair point.
There's also got to be a reason why no one else is really in for him, apart from I know Frankfurt wanted him, but apart from them.
Or who knows, really? But there's only rumours. But we heard Chelsea went for him, United went for him,
but no one actually went for him apart from us.
Well, United did.
Yeah, I guess United did. But why didn't they go for him in the end?
And then there was rumours about Arsenal being in for him, and then something, I don't know, they did a background check or something and they didn't want him. I don't know. I don't know what United, because they didn't want to spend the money, I think, on the loan fee.
We all know how great United's transfer policy has been over recent years.
Exactly. Oz Odell says, for God's sake, no to tell. Give our youngsters a chance. He's too lightweight. Another hill. Guys, get real. Must say no, no, no.
I think it's a bit harsh saying he's another Hill. I think he's much more physically dominant than someone like Hill
For sure.
in the Premier League. I disagree with that totally. But where I do have some sympathy for his comment is about our own youngsters and about people like Mikey Moore. Does signing Matisse Tell block that pathway for Mikey Moore?
Well, if he's does it? I think it probably limits his game time a bit because, you could argue if we just... But the thing is, if we're keeping Son next season, then, do we need another one on top of Moore? But then if we are, whoever we're going to sign then is going to be blocking Moore. So is that an excuse?
Yeah, but the difference is that Tell and Moore are kind of similar in age. So they'll be kind of like at the same bracket at the club, both up-and-coming wingers. If we were to sign someone that's like kind of ready-made and then give Moore the kind of sub-option, Moore and Tell would be playing like the same role in the squad. So it's literally taking.
They would no, they wouldn't if it's Son, Tell, and Moore rather than Son, experienced winger.
Son, Tell, and Moore isn't good enough though. It's like
could potentially be.
Huh?
If we believe they're the talents that we think they are.
I just can't see it. Specific as well. If we don't win the Europa League, how are we going to fit all these wingers in?
Yeah, we're not going to be able to. It's going to be too much. We have to win that Europa League to have a big squad.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting because we literally, if you look at the squad,
Yang Min Hyuk as well that nobody's talking about.
Yang, yeah, also playing in the. He's probably going to have to go out on loan again.
We've signed all these wingers. Plus, we're going to bring in Tell on top. Plus, we're saying even if we bring Tell, we still need to bring in another winger.
Yeah, potentially. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we'll bring in another left winger if we bring Tell in. I think it will just be Tell, Son, and Moore on the left. I think.
And what about Yang?
He'll have to go on loan.
Okay. So Yang going back out on loan. But he's doing really well in the Championship. So what kind of loan does he go to? Does he go to a Premier League loan or what does he do?
I think he's doing all right. I wouldn't say really well. I wouldn't say he hasn't shown he's ready for the Premier League yet.
I feel like he's been getting better as the kind of season progressed.
He's got a couple of goals, 1 assist. I'm saying I'm happy with his progress. I'm just saying I wouldn't sit here and say he's showing he's Premier League ready.
Shitting on
I'm not. I'm just saying Solomon is showing he's ready for the Premier League.
Yeah.
I don't think Yang is quite showing that at the moment.
That's a fair point. But can you go into a season with 6 wingers?
It's a lot. Why? Who's 6? Brennan.
The 3 on the left that you said, Moore, Tell and Son.
And then Odebear Johnson.
And you're saying bring in another right winger.
Yeah. It's a lot.
6 players for 2 positions. That's mad.
It's crazy.
There's no need,
especially if we're not in Champions League.
Yeah.
Then I don't know what we do.
And even if we're in the Champions League, if we're in the Europa League, I can understand it more. But Champions League, you want the best players to play in the Champions League, and you want your best players playing in the league.
Well, we'd have to sell Johnson.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah, so you have to make some difficult calls, I guess. Right now, if that's the case, maybe we shouldn't go for Tell. Maybe we should go for someone else. But I don't know. Maybe we should, and maybe he will fulfill his potential, and he'll be that good. It's a tough call. Risk. Nathan Newman 799 said this is talking about the Player of the Year. He said this isn't even close. In this shitstorm of a season, Bergvall has stood out, and I hope he sticks around when top clubs come poaching this summer. Yeah, I completely agree. We need to tie that contract up ASAP. The guy's on 15k a week. Archie Ray's on 75k a week. Bergvall must be looking at Archie's contract and being like, I need to be on that. That's what I deserve right now. Minimum, probably more, because he's more of a starter. So you're probably going to ask for more than Archie. I wouldn't be surprised. Jimmy Handslip also has his say on the Player of the Year. He says Brandon Austin didn't put a foot wrong. Didn't put a hand wrong either. Didn't put a hand wrong. Brandon Austin for Player of the Year? Is he in the running?
Yeah, I think he got a 10 in his
He did.
his only game that he played.
How many games he played? 2 or 3?
Wasn't it 2? Newcastle and the Europa League
And
game.
Hoffenheim. Was there not one Europa on top of that?
Don't think so. I think that was it.
I think he played another one on top of it.
Maybe.
I think maybe Elfsborg potentially.
Yeah, I think you might be right actually.
Elfsborg. Pretty decent performances for
I think
Brandon.
the dog
Brandon.
outside agrees as well.
Yeah, all right. Well, if the dog agrees, Brandon Austin for Player of the Year. Dark Order 7994 says, very much doubt it. Ange, I'm not sure what he's referring to. He's very much doubt it. Ange is just clueless, too arrogant for my liking. Once the Europa League tournament finishes, whether we win it or not, he needs to be gone straight after. Levy better start looking for a new manager because Ange can't take us forward. Also, please let's cut out the links with Marco Silva, Frank, and the Bournemouth manager because I also believe they won't take us forward. No disrespect to them. They are doing good for the teams they are managing, but will fail and get sacked just like Nuno did. Me personally, I wouldn't say no to Carlo Ancelotti or Magic Maurizio Pochettino or Inzaghi. They will turn our club into an unstoppable force straight away.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ancelotti, Pochettino and Inzaghi?
I mean, Poch is the one, isn't it? Like, it's always going to go back to Poch. The fans won't ever be kind of like content until Pochettino comes
Until
back.
he's had that second crack.
Yeah.
We're never going to let it go. It's always, whatever manager comes in, it's always going to be like, yeah, but I just want Poch back.
We all said it at the time. Not we all said it, but I think me and you definitely said it at the time, saying like this could be the worst mistake that this club has ever made, and that's what it's come down to.
Yeah, and everyone wants him back. But do you think? What did he say? He said, "Let's cut out the links to Silva, Frank, and the Bournemouth manager."
I think it's a bit harsh. I think they could even be better than Ange, but are they the ones to take us back to the top? Don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to know. I don't know if they're just good for their level or their overperformance would translate to Tottenham. I'm just not sure.
Maybe Ange was just good for his level.
Yeah, it's also true. Jack Lane 3679 said, honestly, this season has been so weird. We dropped a chunk of points early in the season because we don't have enough dynamic forward players in the squad. We were in the top 4 fight, then the injuries piled up at the back in particular. We already had a warning of how bad our second string was against Galatasaray and Coventry. Then all of a sudden, that was our team in our busiest period through November to March. That's why we've been so consistently terrible since then and why we are where we are. Players take time to recover from long injuries, and we've also had Kulusevski, our player of the season, out for a month or so since we've had everyone back. So we still don't look 100% right now, but we seem to be getting back to how we were at the start of the season with some decent yet wasteful performances. I can imagine us beating West Ham, Palace and maybe Brighton at home on the last day, but we may also be managing fitness around Europa League games, and really that's all that matters now since there are just 5 dead rubbers / glorified Premier League training games. I think this was in response to are we going to get 8 more points between now and the end of the season to be our worst ever team? That was what you were saying.
I mean, there's a lot to digest there in that comment, about 5 paragraphs. But I think I can't imagine us beating West Ham, Palace, and Brighton. I just can't see that. I can see us beating West Ham, but the thing is with West Ham, that's bang in the middle of the Bodo games, isn't it? So you're probably expecting quite a few changes. Palace as well. Like Palace are a very good side. You know, they played very well against Arsenal last night. Got the point. And Brighton, you know, last game of the season. Who knows? There's probably all these games are such dead rubbers though, and don't mean anything to anyone. So like they could go either way. But I just can't see Spurs getting another 8 points. No chance. Yeah,
I think it's tall order. In my opinion, even if we didn't have Europa League, it would be a tall order. But with Europa League in that, with the lack of kind of focus on them, it's going to be. I'll be very surprised if we did. Not impossible, but I'll be very surprised if we did.
Yeah.
Especially that Brighton game as well. That could be just after a final, just after a win, a final win. I cannot see the players being able to concentrate on that game. We win the final.
Or lose final.
Yeah, win or lose, to be honest. Drop kick your teacher. No, don't do that. Says, guessing people don't realise Bodo Glimt manager Kajan Knutsen has faced Ange before, but with Bodo Glimt, he beat Ange's Celtic 5-1 in the Conference League playoffs.
Yeah, I know. I did know about that. And yeah, smashed Ange, to be honest, in a Conference League playoff. That's a bit nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, let's hope that doesn't repeat itself.
Bodo, people are just like glazing over Bodo like they're a nothing team. They got here because they're on merit to get here. They're a very good side, a very attacking side. It's all about putting them away in the first leg.
Yeah.
If we don't put them away in the first leg, I think we're going to go out.
Mm-hmm. And we're putting, 100% we're leaving it up to a massive chance. And we've seen so many teams struggle there. There's a reason why all those teams struggle there. And I don't think we're going to be any different, to be honest. John MCC Rea 7094 says, don't count your chickens. We can lose to anyone on the day. Bodo are in the semis on merit and are such and as such deserve maximum respect. We are performing so poorly, it's foolish to assume we'll brush them aside. Even though it's a tie, we should be winning with comfort. But we said that about Tamworth in the FA Cup and needed extra time to see them off.
Yeah, that's true. To be fair, though, against Tamworth, we did play not our strongest team available, which has got to be said. Timo started and all that.
Yeah, not that it's an excuse, but it's
not
still
an
true.
Excuse, but it's true. And we do seem to be raising our level in the Europa League. We definitely did that against Frankfurt, and I think we will be doing that against Bodo. And that 5-1 loss that Ange had against Bodo might work in our favour a little bit, because it'll make sure that he won't take this game lightly as well.
Make sure we just, because he knows all about them, and he knows that if you don't take them seriously, then you can easily,
rip you apart,
they can. And they've done that to a number of teams at home this season.